And it's also funny, and I tweeted about this, how like a lot of the main set is a lot of big multicolored creatures with weird, creature abilities that
Yep.
mutate and stuff.
Yep.
And the commander set, the cards that people are getting excited about are all these like 3 mana white, like super efficient,
They've
like
learned
card
these are the
advantage
good
engines.
cards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and those are all from the commander set, and
Right.
they look like like legacy targeted cards or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's very confusing. All right, looks like we got our matchup.
All
So
right.
I'm gonna go ahead and put that up as Jeremy comes in.
Excellent. Looks like Pulliam started off with a Multi 5.
Oh man, brutal. Not quite what you want in this matchup. He does have a Thoughtseize, but true to form, Will Pulliam is going to hold off on that Thoughtseize until, the moment. And I mean, there's nothing particularly dangerous that can happen on turn 1 in this matchup.
Hello, Chris.
Hey, Jeremy, welcome back. You ready to cast the finals here?
The finals, very exciting. Of course, the S tier deck quickly rising to the top of the modern bracket.
Yeah, everybody knew that Niv Mizzet was going to dominate this tournament. Starting round 1 of today, pretty much just a mistake to bring any other deck. We all were saying that constantly.
Yeah, and the metagame is going to try to grow and exploit some of the holes in the Niv Mizzet deck, where it will unfortunately learn that there are none.
It's unbeatable. It only loses the mirror match. So
This is sort of what Magic has been building toward since its inception. All 5 colors, you can't beat it.
5 colors, Niv Mizzet only, Final Destination.
Yes,
It's pure Magic, I would say.
This is
No items.
This is the Fox v Fox No Items Final Destination, the Magic the Gathering.
Will is extremely far behind here.
Yes, he is.
The Mulder 5 was obviously not kind. A Mulder 5 rarely is. Using an Assassin's Trophy to answer these Planeswalkers is just going to put Connor way up on mana and skyrocket him towards an early Niv Mizzet. Will kind of just can't afford to cast the spells in his hand, and that may just kind of stay true for the rest of this game.
Sometimes Molda 5 sort of can get fixed by the nature of the deck. For example, if you're on Infect, there can be, or the Underworld Breach combo, there can be a Molda 5 that sort of gets you there. The gold card mirror is not where you're coming, where that's like something that you would consider. Basically,
This is the most fair deck it's possible to build in Modern.
yes.
The power of your deck is all tied up in your 5 mana cards.
Yeah.
So the critical mass of cardboard that you need to cast your 5 mana cards is a lot higher, and mulligans can be very punishing.
Absolutely.
Renin 6 is one of the cards that helps. If Renin 6 didn't exist, I don't think this deck would be really possible to play, because it does help make up for those mulligans and give you the raw cards to keep casting your 5s.
Absolutely.
But here we see Will on a Mulder 5 with no Renin 6, just unable to put cards in play to rival what Connor is doing. Here's a Niv Mizzet.
And then, Connor is going to sort of bury Will in the card advantage of the powerful dragon. Drew 2 off the Niv Mizzet.
Yeah, not a huge Niv Mizzet, but,
It's an Uro and a Lightning Helix, it looks like.
All right. Step 1 for Will is definitely draw land.
Yeah, that's getting us close. He can have a Niv Mizzet,
At some point.
right, that rivals, that sort of stands against and draws more than 2 cards. Honestly, if his Niv Mizzet gets crazy enough and sort of hits the absolute best it can possibly hit, and Glittering Wish gets involved, maybe another Golgari card.
He's still down mana, though. It's really hard for him
Yeah.
to keep up just on doing stuff, even if he does manage to draw a bunch of spells.
Yep. And I think at the end of this turn, we're going to have to see a trophy on the Renin 6. Once Renin 6 ultimates, the game is effectively over.
Yep, we saw both of our semifinals apparently ended via Renin 6 in play and a Renin 6 ult, which is just not a feasible combination for regular Magic cards to defeat.
Right, absolutely not. So here
This
we go.
looks like another Bring to Light.
Ooh, what do you get this time?
Well, the Unmoored Ego is in the graveyard, so can't get that to just sort of slam the door. Another Niv Mizzet doesn't... I mean, it could just be a big card drawing spell here.
So, yeah, I mean, sure. With 6 cards in your hand, though,
It's not
typically
that
that's
great.
not the best you can do.
No, I think he may be actually just getting. Honestly, I would love to get Teferi here because that cuts off Bring to Light.
Yep.
Just gonna go ahead and get a
Oh,
Thoughtseize.
get a Thoughtseize,
5 mana
interesting.
Thoughtseize when you're this far ahead.
Yeah,
Fine,
deal.
I accept.
And it resolves. I was kind of thinking we might trophy in response.
I don't think that really makes any sense too. That just gives Connor a little more information about what Will has committed to.
Yeah.
And you can only cast the one trophy, so then Connor could still. That would then maybe let Connor take the second trophy, and then Will
And you
would
can draw a land and bring to light. It's genius.
Brilliant.
Let's see how bad this situation really is. Now we get to look in our opponent's hand. Or he's actually probably going to hold it. Well, all right.
All right.
Yeah.
Rather than Will would rather scoop than cast a Thoughtseize.
In this tournament, I am just getting that just Will put Thoughtseizes in his deck to not cast.
Oh, you can't get Planeswalkers with Bring to Light. All right.
Oh, yeah,
this is
true.
one of those weird cards, but
Yeah. What,
you can only
get a
instant
Planeswalker
sorceries
with-
and enchantments are the 3 that you can get with it. It's a weird card.
There's no way it can't get creatures. It's a green
Oh yeah, it
card.
can get creatures. Yeah.
So
It's
not
weird.
artifacts and not...
Not artifacts, not Planeswalkers.
That, okay, sure.
Sure.
Why don't you just make your cards impossible to understand? You're already printing Japanese only promo.
Instant
Yeah.
sorcery creature, no enchantment. Okay, I guess that makes more sense than having enchantment on the card.
Sure.
There's no enchantments in the deck anyways. It's not relevant to this particular discussion.
I mean, I just now learned that Bring to Light wasn't just like spell.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you mean I can't get a Planeswalker? What are you, a cop?
I think we might have been online for too long today.
No, we're good.
All right, we're great.
We're great. Evan's still just sitting there acting like nothing's happening. He's like, all right, the next match is on us. I'm like, hey, bud, are you good? And I'm like about to be
Just
asleep
the
on my
1000 at the desk over there.
He's like, wait, yeah, what do you mean?
Just, got his Chipotle brought to him, ate it at his desk, kept going. That's all he
Wow.
needed.
I can't believe that. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It really is.
We are blessed to have Evan Whitehouse in our corner.
Yeah. We always knew, I always said Evan's beast. And then when the Players' Championship came around and he, front loaded all the effort on testing, I was like, wow, Evan's a beast. And now there's just another one, it's beast. Hand is great.
This hand looks wonderful. That Prismatic Vista might throw you for a loop. For a second, you might believe that it's another Pillar of the Pruns because it's got that gold background, but instead it's the perfect card for this hand. Gets snow mana for the 2 Astrolabes, is a fetch land for the Wrenn and 6.
I mean, yeah, this is kind of insane. Not really disruptible by Thoughtseize because, Pulliam is more than happy to just cast another Arkham's Astrolabe.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, you miss out on the Wrenn and 6, but I think ultimately you're fine.
Yeah, but he really, casting this Wrenn and 6 here is what he wants to be doing.
Oh, absolutely. It's so powerful. It puts a lot of pressure on your opponent that they can't just helix away.
Mm-hmm.
Just puts Will, in a really good spot. Being on the play, having Wrenn and 6, probably if this matchup becomes a really big deal in Modern, which, it's pretty well set to do.
Mm-hmm. It seems like the deck has been completely dominant.
Absolutely. Wrenn and 6, who gets the Wrenn and 6 first is maybe going to be a question we're asking.
Yeah, and it's kind of the wrong colors for the very cheap answers. I don't know what's the, super cheap, super targeted response to it you can put in your deck. I guess there's some, red spells that can target red things,
we could
probably.
fry it.
Yeah,
We could Chandra's Defeat it. How about that?
Yeah, I think probably something really targeted like Chandra's Defeat where you can, on the draw, you can get their Wrenn and 6 and then cast your own. That's what I'm
Okay.
looking for, is, the Mystical Dispute for Wrenn and 6.
The Mystical Dispute. Yeah, it's definitely Fry, or Chandra's Defeat.
That may be too targeted, and certainly Abrupt Decay being recommended in chat might be the way to go. But
And we're in a funny spot because you can pretty much play any answer that they've printed, in Modern,
especially if it's 2 colors, then.
right. So the brainstorming kind of never. Eventually someone's going to be like, yeah, but on the play, what if you Silumgar Scorn, reveal your Niv Mizzet? Oh yeah, I forgot. We can do that, I guess. Ooh, the 5-color Dragons deck that becomes a tech answer to this deck. You just have more
More dragons.
dragons. What's the best part of the Niv Mizzet deck? Right, the dragons. You don't let somebody finish.
So Will, not fetching this turn, just plus in the Ren and 6, has completely missed on castable spells here. While Connor drew Uro, which is gonna actually allow him to cast the first Niv Mizzet of the game.
Interesting. I was gonna say missed on castable spells is like kind of fine when the end of that tunnel is Niv Mizzet.
Right, but if you're behind on Niv Mizzet,
Right.
which it looks like he's about to be.
Cool. Uro.
Uro. Oh man, even worse.
Yeah, how about no Niv Mizzets?
Take those Niv Mizzets right out of the deck.
Yeah, you're not doing Niv Mizzet. You have to win with your Ren and 6 that's in play. And Will's like, okay, I will.
A rough spot for Will. To lose the Niv Mizzet out of his deck, to lose the ability to get Niv Mizzet with this Bring to Light. I mean, one of the things, if this mirror becomes common, then you're going to have to do that thing where you bring in more big, more fives, more card advantage engine / win conditions to sub in when you get Unmoored Egoed.
Oh no, my Niv Mizzet is gone. I'll have to beat you with the Scarab God and animate your Uro.
I am thinking more along the lines of Teferi. Oh man, and there's the Mystical Dispute on top of the library.
That would have helped.
That would have helped. Because of the Pillar of the Pruns, though, if Connor had his own Mystical Dispute, even if Will had, played an untapped land this turn, he would not have been able to pay for Connor's Mystical Dispute in response. So, just a little bit of weirdness caused by the mana base of this deck.
Interesting. All right. Will has
Not drawn super well here.
not done too well, but he has all the options available to him, right?
Well, except for the important one.
Correct.
The A plan it's gone, man.
Sure, but if anyone knows what to do in that spot, it's Weird Land Guy.
That's true. Got all the weird lands in this deck.
They're strong.
Yep. This Ren and 6 not really representing a true threat anymore versus the opposing Ren and 6, which can keep it under control, keep it off of its ultimate for as long as Connor needs it to, until he finds an actual answer for Ren and 6.
Absolutely. And we have...
I mean, I'm curious. Like, I think Will is just trying to figure out a plan here. Like, how do you win the game in this spot? Your Niv Mizzets are gone. It looks like he chose just not to cast Bring to Light.
Yeah, not
here.
casting the Bring to Light is, like, definitely... I think kind of heads up because it's just like there isn't really a get. Like I was trying to think of one in that spot and I just like I don't know what he can get. And so I think you need a little more information from the hand to like really figure out what to get.
And this Teferi is a nightmare. Teferi with 3 mana up to pay for Mystical Dispute.
Your Bring to Light is no longer functional.
Right.
Yeah.
Turns off Bring to Light, turns off Mystical Dispute. This Red and 6 is turned off because there's already a Red and 6 in play.
Right, so it can just ping.
Even if Will ults his Ren and 6, even if Connor just lets Will ult his Ren and 6, there's nothing to cast with it here.
True. How rare. Well, I guess you can Mystical Dispute 3 times. Nope, because there's a Teferi in play. You are just done.
Yeah, I think that this game is feeling pretty over here.
Still kind of heads up to not let opponent ultimate Ren and 6, just because you don't know if
There's no
a
reason
trophy or
to let
anything.
that happen. Yeah.
Right, when you can just down-tick your Planeswalker.
Like, if Will just has, like, Lightning Helix and a bunch of lands in his hand, then that could cause some real problems.
Yeah, we're in a bad spot unless Connor's hand is just a mirror of Will's. And then they're just both kind of sitting there.
Well, they're both sitting there until Connor draws a Bring to Light or a Niv Mizzet.
Right, so that'll be a big change. So maybe we're seeing here a Bring to Light for an Unmoored Ego to kind of both put them in this same spot.
Yep.
Yeah, and that looks like what's happening. It seems like he's having the same thoughts as us. How about if I can't have a Niv Mizzet, you can't have a Niv Mizzet, and we might see the plan being to board out a Niv Mizzet so that you can Glittering Wish for it. It looks like that is what happened.
Now, interesting that Connor allowed his Teferi to die here. I think I would have valued it more highly than that. Because it cuts off Bring to Light in the matchup, and because it cuts off Mystical Dispute, he doesn't know that Will has those two cards in his hand, but he knows that Will has those two cards in his deck.
Absolutely.
And I think I would have liked to see him value it a little more highly versus the in-play Ren and 6 that can finish it off there. Blessing the Teferi just blanks a lot of Will's ability to play the game.
Yeah, interaction. You're basically confining him to sorcery speed for the rest of the time. And if it trades with an assassin trophy, that's like fine because that's one less assassin trophy for your Nivs, which you have, and he does not.
Right. The trophies are really at a premium in this matchup.
Yeah. Well, that's an optimistic way to say it. I would just say they're taxed to the point of just being stressful.
Yes, they're extremely important and your only answer to a lot of the stuff that happens.
Absolutely. And this is one of the remaining ways to win the game in the deck for both players. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath.
Yep. And Mystical Dispute going to come out, and Will has just been able to capitalize on a couple of cards that Teferi would have locked out.
Yeah, absolutely. Ooh.
Wow, there's Glittering Wish. Now Will is the only one with Niv Mizzet.
Awesome. Do you take one out?
Use Glittering Wish's ability. Let's use Glittering Wish's ability.
I know, when Moto asks me stuff like that, I'm like, what do you think is going on here?
Get your shit together.
Yeah, what are you doing? Yes. Sometimes I will float mana for something and then cast it. And it's like, well, what mana do you want to use? And I'm like, well, let's just use the mana that's in my pool. How about that?
Well, looks like Will's gonna have to redo a little bit. Oh no, he's got the Astrolabe.
The Astrolabe.
Yeah,
nice. He knows.
He's got this. Will has played so tight every time we've seen him. He is a master of this deck, I would say. And we see him navigating a mirror where the cards in the order that they came.
It looks really bad.
Will lost the game on paper.
Right.
But he played tight, waited for Connor to make a misstep, and just preyed on that and got way more value out of his cards than he should have been able to, probably.
And we have in chat the confirmation. I took Uro. I guess it's still hard to tell what your opponents take when they have two of the same guild on a Niv Mizzet.
Yeah.
So you get to see all 10 cards, and so you kind of can know from that. But if two of the cards are in the same guild, I think it's a little tough to tell which one they end up taking.
Right. And Lee got mad at us for misstating that on coverage last week, and I think that might just be wrong. I think you may still not be able to tell what your opponent got. Here's a Bring to Light.
It might be also true that Connor just doesn't know how to tell because it could be just buried in all that.
This isn't the first time that we've seen players
ask that question.
And good sportsmanship from our players answering the question. I think that you should answer that question truthfully when it gets asked because navigating Moto's Byzantine systems for figuring this stuff out is not really what these games are about.
I wouldn't. I'm not telling you what Simic card I took. You're just going to have to figure it out when I cast this Uro next turn.
All right, confirmation from VTCLA that Connor is a dingus and that you actually can tell what is taken, but it's probably at least a little bit opaque.
Yeah, it probably is one of those things where it's ... and you have to click on that and you have to go through it and figure out which cards you took.
Yeah.
That would be my hope. Because we did see an amount of stress about it.
All right, so now Will does not have a graveyard to fuel this Uro, and he does have to deal with the red and 6 on the other side before letting that ult get out of control, but he's got an Assassin's Trophy in hand. Drawing another Glittering Wish here is very good. Glittering Wish, among the best cards in the deck now that Niv Mizzet is not there. Toolbox is better than Bring to Light at this point.
Absolutely. No longer can get that Niv Mizzet, though.
No, so that Niv Mizzet is gone.
We are checking. Looks like Veto might be a useful card to have in your hand. Not really something you want to tutor for. But it kind of looked like the best option. It
does kind of look like the best option here.
Alternatively, if you're worried about this Uro, you could grab Wheel of Sun and Moon. That would also be kind of weird looking. But maybe it's what you end up doing.
I mean, I'd like to clear out certainly need to deal with the Ren and 6 first before that becomes a thing that matters at all. If you allow this Ren and 6 to ult that's, not really accomplishing
Usually
anything.
the end of the game.
I don't believe Will is going to let that happen.
Basically, we're going to make Kaya's Guile into a lingering souls impression and kill you in a very painstaking way.
Oof.
Yeah, that would be hard to watch.
Yeah, I don't
All right,
super want to sit here for that.
1-1 and discard a land. Are you ready? What are you at? 24? You know, like
This is going to take a minute.
this is gonna be rough.
All right, we do see that Glittering Wish. Looks like maybe just going to go get a Lightning Helix.
I kind of am, wondering what for.
I guess this is going to target the... All right, that's going to take down the Spirit. And then trophy the Renin 6.
Sure.
And then Will does not have to minus his Renin 6. So
He
he's
can threaten
threatening
the
to the
ult.
ultimate here.
All right.
So just using spells to clear out Connor's stuff.
That's pretty good.
And now he's the one threatening ultimate. Pretty weird series of draws here where Will just has the full set of Renin 6s at this point.
Well, if you ultimate a Renin 6...
Oh, and this Thoughtseize is really... This is one of the worst Thoughtseizes I've ever seen.
Yes, here is my hand. So if you ultimate a Renin 6, it's kind of nice to have another one because the tick-ups represent spells. In this case, Assassin's Trophying all of your lands is kind of like on the docket. Like, if we're just going to be grinding into...
Potentially. I mean... Yeah, that could definitely be it, because it's either that or Lightning Helixing a bunch, which is not quite going to get there.
Right. So,
It's probably just... Yeah, and there we go. There is the Renin 6 emblem, backed up by an additional Renin 6.
Right. Anyway, I'm going to Assassin's Trophy...
And this Ashiok can target Will while exiling Connor's graveyard to look for additional cards. So we're
Cool.
going to kill the Uro with the Assassin's Trophy from the graveyard.
Oh, it might be that the best way to win the game is to mill Connor out with Ashiok.
Yeah, Will is targeting Connor here, so he's not looking for additional cards to do Renin 6 emblem work with at this moment. That's not what he's trying to do.
But the Renin 6 tick up, like I've talked about before, is just representing,
Yeah,
every tick up is a spell.
Right. It's just that right now the only spells it's representing are Assassin's Trophy and Lightning Helix, which should be good enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's a win recipe right there.
But an Ashiok targeting Will, okay, and Connor sees the writing on the wall here. Will is just way too far ahead, and that emblem is not really beatable in this sort of matchup.
And so we have Game 3 of the finals of the third ever Lotus Box Patreon Championship. The first one in Modern, the true test of who can slam haymakers. 5-color Niv is it?
Yep, and Connor is going to be on the play for this game, and that's pretty good.
Good job on Will navigating that game. I think that I might have conceded on turn 5. And he ended up making it into a W, so there you go.
And I think a lot of that is Will having a lot of confidence in his familiarity with the deck and able to think ahead to lines and think, this could happen and allow me to win the game. I'm going to give that a chance to happen.
Yeah, sure. Just let that maybe happen.
This kind of reminds me a little bit of, and we've told this story many times, but when we were teaming at an open once and I look over and you couldn't possibly win your game.
Yeah.
There's a feather in play and we know that your opponent has multiple God's Willings in hand.
God's Willings and the cantrip one as well.
Yep. And so I'm like, all right, well, Jeremy lost. I got to win my match. I
Yeah.
look over like 5 minutes later and you're packing up and you just won your game. There was no feather in play anymore. And
Right.
I didn't understand how that happened, but you played to, you drawing well and your opponent making a mistake somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's what is required in that sort of situation. Will could not have won that game if Connor didn't make that misstep by minusing that to Fairy.
To Fairy, yep. Yeah, you're probably right. Leaving to Fairy, Dobbs, didn't work out.
Nope, it did not.
Weird. Odd.
When we were, working through the Pioneer deck and, like Abe Corrigan was working really hard on finding the correct build for that deck. One of the keys to the mirror matchup was Teferi is the most important card. You can't resolve Bring to Light if there's a Teferi in play. You can't counter any of their stuff post board if there's a Teferi in play. You gotta keep their Teferi off the board and prioritize keeping yours on the board. And I don't think that this modern deck is too different. Okay, so it looks like Will has kept
Checks out.
yep, an okay hand. I mean, there's Astrolabe, there's Mystical Dispute. He does not have the Ren and 6 in this hand to really like get it going, to be that ideal turn 2 play.
He also doesn't have a great way to deal with an opposing Renin 6.
Right.
Which is worrying. But I guess, well,
he's got his own Ren and 6
okay,
now.
you know, whatever.
So this hand, you know, kind of close to having it all. I think this Ren and 6 is pretty safe coming down this turn.
Yeah, Mystical Dispute can't really deal with it. If it gets trophied, that's like
That's
pretty fine.
ideal.
Yeah. Like,
I mean,
great.
You get the land off of the Ren and 6 and you get a land in play. Like,
I cultivated, and you discarded a card.
yeah.
How like, you know, how
Yeah,
prime.
that worked out okay.
Yeah, that was pretty good for a 2-mana card.
Yeah. So, you know, if this matchup is going to become more prevalent, answering... Okay, so it looks like Will is prioritizing keeping up Mystical Dispute for, I assume, Teferi.
Teferi, yeah. Wow.
And you know what? I love it.
Cool.
I don't think Connor is going to make the same mistake against Ren and 6 in play this game.
True.
And, you know, Will is going to respect that turn 3 Teferi.
And here we have a frankly impressive, you know, dance of who can make the first meaningful spell stick.
Mm-hmm.
Pulliam with Ren and 6 leave up Mystical Dispute.
And he's not going to leave up Dispute to protect the Ren and 6 because, you know, we saw from his play last turn that answering Teferi is more important to him than getting Ren and 6 in
Getting
play.
Ren and 6 out.
So he's not even going to represent the Dispute here for this fight.
Ooh.
And it doesn't counter Dovin's veto anyways.
Sure,
So.
so that was a good job.
Yep.
Yeah, that was cool. Honestly, really cool turn by Will. A lot of stuff that he was like clearly thinking about there.
Yeah.
And it sort of just like paid off getting rid of the veto. Another thing I was thinking is like not only is countering Teferi very important, but you don't want to leave yourself exposed to an unmoored ego that you could have prevented as well.
That's really true, yeah, because that's even more lights out than Teferi, really.
Yeah.
So Dispute, super important in this matchup. You got to be leaving it up at the beginning of the game here.
And here's an Ashiok.
There's an Ashiok.
I think we dispute it because we kind of dispute something on this turn.
Well, that also, Ashiok turns off Bring to Light and Prismatic Vista from Will's hand, so he just can't afford that to be in play.
So 3-mana Planeswalkers, what do they need to be able to do? Protect themselves, turn off, Bring to Light. Everyone's like, what?
Nothing. Yeah, they don't really need to protect themselves anymore. When they're 3 mana, you know,
Sure,
you're just using them as prison pieces.
Yeah, okay.
right.
Sure.
And Connor's going to get out the first Niv Mizzet.
Yay, Niv Mizzet.
And Will is left without any shields because he had to hit that Ashiok.
But he can Kaya's Guile away the Niv Mizzet.
Yes. The effectiveness of that play is going to be really determined by what's revealed to this Niv Mizzet. It looks like a Teferi and a Ren and 6 and a Glittering Wish. So pretty good Niv Mizzet.
That was a good Niv Mizzet. They're usually about 2 to 3 cards in this sort of build of the deck.
A play that Connor could have made there is he could have gone ahead and just unmoored Egoed rather than Niv Mizzeting.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because that was something that we were trying to sort of prevent.
Yeah. And, you know, Will is not at the level of mana where, like... I mean, I guess he could Glittering Wish on, like, this turn and then Niv Mizzet on the next turn, potentially. But, you know, now... And so that would be the threat. But that... You know, now Will has answered the Niv Mizzet in play and now gets to play his own Niv Mizzet because they didn't get solved by Connor casting his own Niv Mizzet.
Right, and, you know, the Bring to Light for Unmoored Ego sort of loses a lot of effectiveness because we know about the Glittering Wish in Connor's hand.
Yeah.
So here we're going to get a Rin.
Oh, yeah. Will definitely is not supposed to Unmoored Ego here. He's definitely supposed to Niv Mizzet.
Yeah.
Yep. So he ends up with Uro, Teferi, Ren, and 6 off of this. Not bad. Pretty good.
So Will with the kind of cheeky. I took Uro, and it says it in the game log, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Didn't realize that.
kind of odd to be told in the final. It's like when at the end of your long day, you get home and your roommate or whatever's like, "Oh, did you have some spinach in your teeth, from your breakfast omelet?" And you're like, "What? What do you mean?" Because that's you've been doing this wrong all day.
All right, Kayasgyle answering the Niv Mizzet, but it's not the end of turn Kayasgyle answering Niv Mizzet, so not quite as, setup-y.
Well, this is the advantage of the 2-mana Planeswalker. You don't get to see this from Tibalt because the card is unplayable, but Wrenn and 6 as sort of like
Spell 2.
Spell 2
Yeah.
that was pretty strong,
Yeah.
in terms of just like what we accomplished on that turn. Ideal after
Definitely.
after your opponent resolves a Niv Mizzet is dealing with Niv Mizzet, advancing my spot, getting initiative back, and saying go.
Now, this may be for an... Okay, this is just for another Niv Mizzet.
Dragon!
Okay, kind of interesting that Will would do this when he's already got 6 cards in hand. I don't love this result, actually.
Yeah, so now we have 10 cards in our hand, and so that's going to be a whole thing. But some of the cards are kind of free to discard. Uro, not really doing much right now.
We're totally fine with discarding that Uro. He's got to discard one more out of there, and it can just be
it's kind of
a
tough.
land. He's got the Wrenn and 6 in hand.
Sure.
And maybe that is good because putting more cards into the graveyard allows him to escape that Uro sooner.
That is exactly what I was thinking. I was like, we're kind of in a good spot if we're discarding 3 cards. Because with, 2 cards that are kind of at odds, and I was talking about this with Collins, Wrenn and 6 and Uro don't really get along that well. It doesn't seem like it would be a big deal, but when you're playing, you're like, okay, I have 4 fetch lands in my hand now, and I've played a fetch land every turn, and I have 2 cards in my graveyard.
Yeah.
How am I going to get this Uro into play?
Right.
So those 2 cards kind of don't play nice.
But they kind of do in that Wrenn and 6 gives you lands to make the best use of your Explore triggers.
Yeah.
So I think on balance it ends up being good. It can be kind of awkward, but these Niv Mizzet decks are not trying to turbo out their Uros.
Right.
So, that Uro represents a long-term value engine. Connor's trying to keep his head above water here, getting that Teferi into play, and then trophying a Niv Mizzet. But Will is really winning on these exchanges here.
Yeah, you almost kind of love that trophy. You're like, oh yeah, more mana to do these things.
Right, because Will gave up developing mana. Last turn he could have used Uro as an explorer. And cast something else, but he chose to go up cards with that Niv Mizzet. Wrenn and 6 going to come down, murder that Teferi again.
Poor Teferi.
Poor Teferi. Here it's not as clear cut that Connor should have plus that Teferi because we're not in a game state where Will is clearly low on stuff to do in hand and using Teferi as a prison element is powerful. Connor's got to find a way of catching up against all this stuff that Will has access to.
Mm-hmm. And Ashiok the pick from Will.
Turns off plenty of stuff. Fetch lands don't work anymore. Bring to Light doesn't work anymore. Connor kind of low on mana to do powerful Glittering Wish turns.
Mm-hmm.
So, depending on what Will wants to do here, I mean, that Wrenn and 6 does not have any lands left to get, so it's not representing additional land drops for Connor.
Right, because even if Connor can't crack a fetch while the Ashiok's in play, so it's not like you can crack a fetch and get it back with Wrenn.
Right. It is interesting that Will is targeting Connor here.
Players are kind of split. I always say the first one's free to target them. People like Evan Whitehouse is never tempted to target them with an Ashiok. He's like, people should just leave it on 5 all the time. I don't know what people are doing. And that's so funny because I'm always like, million for 4, maybe I'll hit all your good cards. There's a chance that it happens.
Well, I'm just a little curious why you wouldn't just target yourself
for Uro
when you have an Uro in your graveyard.
Well, you can just do that next turn.
You can just do it next turn.
And if your Ashiok dies, then maybe you're thinking that'll put a card in the graveyard for Uro anyway.
Yeah. I mean, and there's the consideration that, there are Bring Delights in both decks, so you could take out the thing that they want to get.
You could take out the thing
I don't think that actually, unless you're... I guess your plan can be to just Ashiok them a bunch of times, get rid of their resources.
Right.
But you can't Ashiok that many times against Ren and 6 generally because, you want to keep the Ashiok in play, shutting down their stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he can just use the Ashiok on himself this turn if he decides he wants to Uro, so I guess it's fine.
Like I said, the first one's usually free,
Yeah.
and also, one thing that we're not thinking about that Will might have on his mind, and this would be kind of crazy, but this is a mid-range mirror where players have more answers than threats.
True.
Milling your opponent for 12,
You could just reduce the total number of threats they can present to you over the course of the game.
absolutely, and also, a mill for 12 is pretty irrelevant until we all start to notice that one player has
Very
7
few.
cards left
Yep.
in their deck, and whoa, it's a good thing that that person got milled for 12 forever ago, and you can just say go 7 times and win.
Yep. Will here really ahead on mana and resources.
Yep.
Just kind of able to turn this game in whatever direction he feels is best. There's a couple of Niv Mizzets in his hand right now.
Yeah,
Cannot cast the Bring to Light as long as the Teferi is on the table, but has the trophy in his hand. Not too concerned about that situation.
Just cast the Niv if you don't want to bring to light.
Yeah, does not have to do that.
Niv isn't one of the smaller avatars. Hogak a little bigger, Death Shadow usually bigger.
Usually, but a lot of times it comes down as like a 4/4 for a minute.
Yeah.
It ends up pretty big.
Yeah, my Death Shadows are big. What do we have here? We have Connor's first main, thinking about his options. Kind of some planning required. So with the Assassin Trophy, that makes sense. Which of these permanents do I have to get off the table to win the game?
He chooses the Teferi.
Which, sort of shows how important it is to keep that card in play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't want to harp on that too much, but yeah, you gotta have Teferi.
Teferi matters a lot in this matchup.
12 permanents in play, artfully arranged for Will Pulliam.
Just 6 on top, 6 on the bottom. We call that the box.
That's the box. And then now we have number 13, and it goes here. Yeah. All right, Moto. Good job.
Magic Online really just the king of UI design. Just super friendly to
What is
players.
this? The way that the lands are like none of the basics are next to each other. I'm so mad. It's not in Wooburg order. I'm just like, okay, Magic.
Well, you really tilt Moto when all of your lands have different names. It can't make piles anymore because it's just not willing to do that, and that really messes up your board. Honestly, probably the biggest reason not to play this Niv Mizzet deck.
Yeah, I would never let my board look like this on Moto. Mine are all mountains, and they're in one pile. They have the same picture, and it's the M10 picture because that's the ones that Moto gave me when I made the account.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Ideal. Clean.
Yes. I'm not someone who's, very picky about Moto lands at this point. Real life lands, I try to, have something interesting, something I can talk about. But on Moto, Unmoored Ego from Will.
Is that an unmoored ego with peanut butter?
Oh, wow. I thought we couldn't make inside jokes.
Well, too late. There's one of them. We've been talking up Evan Whitehouse a lot.
Yeah.
One skill that Evan Whitehouse does not possess is the ability to cook food.
Yeah, he doesn't have chefing down quite yet.
No. So we witness him eating Eggo waffles with peanut butter on them
Twice in the same day.
too many times in the same day.
Yeah, well, I think honestly, one time is kind of like, this is suspicious that you even thought to do this. Because when I'm like, oh, I'm depressed, I'm going to have a depression meal, it's like a cheese quesadilla.
Yeah.
It's not something that's like, wait, why did you do that? Like, how did you even know that
Okay,
was
so this is important to talk about. Can we look at what Moto did with these lands here?
Oh, well, now they're all in a row.
Just one snake.
Oh. Oh. Uh-oh. So is Connor getting back in this game is something worth checking up on. A Niv Mizzet didn't really
So
draw
Will
any
chose
cards.
to Unmoored Ego Glittering Wish and not Niv Mizzet.
That's heads up. That's cool.
Yeah. But then Connor did just Niv Mizzet immediately after. So
Well, but the Niv Mizzet's handled, right?
it is pretty handled, yeah.
We can Kaya's Guile it out of the world, essentially, and we also have the ability to, deal with the Ridden Six that is on Ominous Lucky number 7. Mm-hmm. Whoa!
Oh, Veil of Summer.
Will Pulliam so good.
Yep. Running the Teferi out, not allowing himself to get veiled here. The veil has to get cast in response to the Teferi. You can respond to it. Yeah, powerful wizarding plays.
That was good. We saw good magic. Yay! Powerful wizarding plays. When you have it all, it's so easy. And Will Pulliam wins.
Yep.
The Lotus Box Patreon Championship for Modern.
Huge congrats to Will Pulliam. Beautiful deck. Let's head back to the booth.
That was an awesome showing from Will. Played tight, played, creatively with his thought seizes.
Yep.
Just really kind of getting that title back of Weird Land Guy. We kind of saw him master the new Weird Land deck of Modern.
Absolutely making the most of all of his cards. And we saw him so behind against Connor in that one game where, just needed Connor to make a mistake, jumped on it, and just did not let up. Was able to convert all of his cards after getting that Teferi off the board, cards that had no text. And, we've seen Will play tight all day long. And, see a great player who built a great deck that did well in the hands of multiple people. I know Connor's list was not quite the Will Pulliam list, but still same archetype.
Yeah.
And well-deserved win, and definitely...
And then he wins the tournament. That feels good.
That's great. You love to see it. Looks like we got Zan here.
Zan always loves to give a message at the end of these, so I'm going to give up my spot for Zan Syed and let him say something to the viewers who will not see my pants. Yes.
Yo, what's up, Chris?
Zan, good tournament today.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, unfortunately this is the first one you've missed the top 8 of.
Yeah,
but
I didn't want to miss the top 8 of this one, but whatever.
We still had a great top 8.
Yeah,
a bunch of excellent players, and I really want to thank the viewers. Everybody watching today, y'all are awesome. Your support has been amazing.
Yeah.
Keep telling your friends, and we are going to be doing this a lot.
We're going to make this a lot bigger.
Yeah.
If you keep coming out, we'll give you what you want. So keep doing what you're doing. Supporting us.
We're not going to have a tournament next week.
Yes.
Easter weekend, we're going to take that off.
Yep. Don't go to church.
Don't go to church. You can watch, if you're a churchy person, there's services you can watch.
Yes. But physically.
Yeah.
Yes. Just wanted to say thank you again. Thank you for the Lotus Box coverage team. You guys did a great job. Definitely couldn't have done this without Chris. He puts in some long hours. So next week we're gonna have off, but we're gonna be making some big announcements. So if you don't follow the Team Lotus Box channel, you should. Another channel you should probably follow is at Weird Land Guy. That's Will Pulliam. He called winning this tournament.
He did. He really did.
Yeah.
He was very confident in his deck.
And when I heard that, I laughed a little bit, and I regret that laugh. Because, well, you definitely proved me wrong. I didn't look at your deck list. I was sure it was going to be something spicy and nice, but you played so well.
Will
today.
played out of his mind today.
Yeah. Really impressed.
So very deserving champion. Yeah. We're going to come back hopefully in 2 weeks. We will be having the next tournament. That should be the kickoff of a full-on tournament series is the plan. We will be announcing the details as soon as we can. Going to be getting a website up and really going to turn this into a thing. This has been so much fun. Everyone in the chat coming in and hanging out, you guys have been a huge part of it, and we, there's no way to do this without interaction and without seeing that people are enjoying it. So any feedback you want to give us, anything you want to see us do differently or better, we'd love to hear it, and we want to do better, and we want to make this a thing that you're into. So let us know, and we want you to keep coming back, playing in the tournaments and watching us.
Yeah, and if you're not already a subscriber to Team Lotus Box, become a subscriber and give us that real feedback, and we'll also make you better at Magic.
Oh, and I think that Will's Twitter handle is no longer Weird Land Guy.
Oh,
I think he's now just at Will Pulliam.
Oh, at Will Pulliam. My bad.
But, he'll always be Weird Land Guy in our hearts.
Yes.
That's really all I got. So
yeah, That's pretty much
Everybody,
all we got.
thanks for watching. Modern is weird as hell.
Yeah.
We will be having more tournaments, and we will have some really exciting announcements coming up.
Yeah, we'll probably have some polls, so look out for those. Like, if you guys want to play different types of formats, let us know.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
See ya.
See ya.